Hey guys, welcome to another project, and this is called India. Now this is quite a fun and cute bag. Now the lining is not pleated, it's kind of plain inside. It's got a rounded base and I have used a recycled denim. I've also used some leather patches, and this is kind of the brocade sort of Indian fabric that I have used. This can be made with a lot of scraps and different fabrics. If you wanted to use 100% recycled denim fabric, this is how it's going to look. Here is another version of India. I've used different shaded recycled denim here. And when I use this part, you don't get such a large amount of denim. So if you can see closely, there are several joints and there are 8 pieces that I have used. So put them together, join it, and then I have added a trim in the center. One of the mistakes I did was I didn't add any sort of interfacing into the flap, which kind of is a little bit floppy. Now I have rectified it in the tutorials. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. Here is our pattern pieces. There's 3, 6 and 9 pages. I'm going to cut them out and then we assemble them together. That's how your pattern looks when they're all cut up, and I've trimmed all the white bits off, and some of them you can see there's a little bit of white left. This is something you will learn as you go along, because when we have, say for example, 1 and 1A joining together like that, it makes it easier to paste it. Now this is 8 and 8A, so we're going to paste this together like so. And there is 7 and 7A. There is 7 and 7A that will join up together like that. And the rest of them, they're all individual patterns. So there's only 1, 7 and 8 to patch up. The rest of them are all individual patterns. So get this ready and we go on to making the bag. Here is all the pattern pieces that I have cut out. Let's go through one by one. I have got the pocket here, and I've also made the notches as per the pattern. This is the top flap. This is number 3. This is pattern number 3. And I have got 2 layers of denim. I've also got a decorative piece which I'll show you later on. And this is your bottom base of the bag. And cut on fold, I have got 1 layer of canvas, 1 layer of denim. And this is the top of your bag, which is cut on fold, and I've got 2 layers of denim. This is the handle, again cut on fold. My handle is slightly shorter, and that's by choice because I didn't want the handle to be too long. And also I had to do another join to get the handle length. So I decided I'm going to have a short handle. This is the lining of the bag. I've taken canvas. This is a 12-ounce canvas, so it gives you a lot of strength to the bag. And then again cut on fold, I have got 2 pieces. This is pattern number 1 and 1A joined together, and that is the pleated part of the bag. That's the bottom half of the bag. So that is cut on fold, and I've got 2 pieces. And this is for the fake leather. Now I've marked it individually and I'm going to cut it out, and then we're going to attach it. If you don't have fake leather, then you could use felt, because felt won't fray. Anything that doesn't fray, any fabric that doesn't fray, which has got a little bit of strength, you can use that. You can also use denim. If you did use denim, then I would probably advise you to cut this in bias like that. So take it into a 45-degree angle and cut it in bias in denim. That way your edges will fray a little bit, but then it won't come off kind of like on a straight edge. So you will have a little fray kind of effect all around the patch, but it won't be too much. So let's go through one by one. Okay, let's go ahead and put this back together. Let me take you through once again, because I've kept away my patterns, and I've got some extra fabrics here which I'm going to tell you in just a little while. This is the leather patch, the top of your bag, which is denim, the bottom of your bag, which is a pleated panel that is in red checkered fabric. This is the base, lining, pocket, handle. Now I have got a little decorative piece here. You could use beaded braids, but I have taken a 4-inch wide fabric, folded into half, simply because this is quite transparent and I didn't want the red to show through. So we're going to go in the center of the bag to add it as a trim. Now that kind of gives you a really nice decoration. So that's that. I've taken slightly longer than we need for the pleated panel. Here I have the same piece again, which we're going to cover the top of a flap. So let me explain the flap a little bit. So one panel is going to be covered with that fabric, and the other panel, this is the wrong side, I have cut out a collar canvas. This canvas is quite stiff and it's got glue on one side and plain cotton on the other side. I have also made a marking all around. I had to change the video settings just to show you the marking on the collar canvas. So all around I have made a half an inch seam allowance mark. At the bottom you will see I have taken 3/4 of an inch. So wherever the marking is, we're going to trim that off completely, and you will see why as we go onto the sewing machine and sew the flap. Let's go ahead and trim this. We go on to the next step. That's the collar canvas. I'm going to trim in a minute. And here is your 4 D-rings. And D-rings are 1 1/4 inch wide. Now, if you happen to get a D-ring which is slightly wider or slightly smaller, just make sure it fits in like so. So wider is fine because the leather patch is quite wide enough. It can take another 1/4 inch. But anything smaller than this, you will have a really tiny handle. So just make sure that you get either 1 1/4 inch or 1 1/2 inch wide D-ring. Or you could even just use a round ring as well. And then we've got the magnetic closure, which you could buy on eBay. Now, if you don't have this, then you can use Velcro. So I'm going to trim this collar canvas off. First, and then we start off with the main part of the bag. So when we work with the flap, you also need your magnetic attachment or your Velcro. Before we go and sew this and this together, what we need to decide is we need to attach a little trim of this one. Basically, we're going to use the flat part of the attachment. So keep this at the center because this denim part is going to be the bottom of the flap, that's going to be the top of the flap. So this will be hidden. So we're going to keep the under attachment like so and just make a pencil mark. This won't be seen from outside, so don't worry if you end up putting it a little bit here or there. So there is a marking, and we're just going to go and cut this. If you're using craft knife, just be very careful if you're using craft knife like I am doing, and this is very dangerous. You've got to have good control on this, otherwise you might just want to use your seam ripper just to make this little cut. Because of the collar canvas, it's not going to go zoo inside, simply because it's got the strength, so you really have to push this hard to be able to kind of rip the fabric. But just be careful with yourself before you do that. So that's that. I'm going to keep this aside. So from the opposite side, see if we can see the marking. Now we're just going to push this attachment through like that, turn it over. This is the washer, and if you can't do it by hand, just take a plier to do it. It's quite easily done by hand. So that is now ready. Now what we're going to do is, so now we're going to take this part, and you could use, if you're using a trim that is slightly heavier weight, then you don't need to use denim on top. You could use that directly. but because mine's fragile and it's thin, that's why I'm using it on top. So I'm going to turn this over, place this on top, and just feel it around so the sides and the edges match. If it isn't, then just shift it around so it matches properly. And now we're going to place some pins. Just place the pins on the denim part. It's going to be very tough trying to pin it on with the canvas, simply because it's too thick. So we can remove the pins as we go along, like so. So now we're going to go and sew from the edge of the denim, start with the back stitch, go all around and finish with the back stitch. When you come to the canvas, just make sure you're going to sew right next to the canvas, not on the canvas, right next to the canvas. So canvas is going to kind of mold the flap into the shape of the canvas. I've kept my stitch length to number 2 because it's important you keep a very small stitch length. So we're going to start off at the edge like so, and the center of the presser foot is kind of just aligning with the edge of the canvas. And I'm sewing right next to the canvas and not on the canvas. There you have it. We have sewn right next to the canvas and not on the canvas. And that's how it looks. So we're going to go and trim the 1/2 inch seam allowance into 1/4 inch. And the rest of the 1/4 inch, especially around this bend area, just go and do some snip marks. Don't cut the stitch, just before the stitch. That just helps the denim to ease around and sit neatly. So now we'll try and put this all inside out. It's going to be a little bit tough because your canvas is going to behave as if it's not going to give way at all, but it will, eventually it will. When it eventually comes out, without iron, how neatly that's sitting. And the same way on the other side as well. That just gives you that little stiffness that you need for your flap. Now you can go and do a top stitch just to kind of let it flat, but it's not necessary. If you don't want it, then you can leave it like so. But I think I'm going to go and do a top stitch off camera, and then we come back and continue with the project. I have put a top stitch around here. All I did was edge the edge of my foot to the edge of this and do a top stitch. I've not shown you this simply because this has been covered in the previous projects. And here is the top half of the bag, the denim panel, and this is the opposite side. Here I have cut out a little canvas piece, again one side glue, one side canvas, and if you go and look at your pattern, there are 2 notch marks. So when you fold it, there's a notch mark here, and in the center I have made a notch mark as well, simply because it just makes it easier. So we're going to place it like so, leave a little gap there, a little gap here, and kind of center it. There is no hard and fast rule. This is not even a perfect rectangle. It could be 2 by 2 piece. It could be 5 by 3, whatever canvas you've got, as long as it will cover a little bit of area. We need this because we're going to attach this magnetic attachment, so that just gives a little extra strength. Okay, So let's just go ahead and iron this. This is now completely patched up. Let's go and measure from the top to bottom. This is just over 6 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little mark there. And I'm also going to make a center mark, like a plus in the middle, that's about 3 inches. So again, we are going to place our washer in the center like so, and make marking to make the cut mark. So again, take your craft knife, and we are just going to go and make that little hole so we can pass it through. Just be careful again with your craft knife in case if you're using this. And we're going to turn this over and through the hole. We're going to pass this through. Just need to make the hole slightly larger. And we're just going to pass this through like so, and place your washer. And then press this on either side. And there is your magnetic clasp now completely fixed. Okay, I'm going to turn it over the way it's going to sit. Take your leather patch. There is a side notch here. Place the top of your leather patch aligning to the top of this panel and place it like so. Then take your D-ring and we're going to pass it, and somewhere as it starts going wider, that's going to stop. So basically around there. It's a little bit tight, but that's okay. So that's going to be your marking. So align it there and then fold it in. Now it's very difficult to pin this. So what I normally do, I just hold it like that, go to the sewing machine, and we're going to start from here, go and do a rectangular stitch. We're not going to go all the way till the edge. We are just going to do a rectangular stitch. When we do that, this is long enough and it's going to hold it inside. So there won't be any more stitches apart from this. Okay? I'm just going to, just in case if it moves, it's a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to mark it like that. And then do the same on here. When you do this, go and measure the width of the D-ring, end of the D-ring to the top, end of the D-ring to the top, and just make sure they are around the same line, so they're matching. Otherwise, when you make the bag, if it's up and down, it's going to look really odd. So I'm just going to make that marking, and we're going to go to the sewing machine. I've just done the marking at the bottom. I don't need anything else, because as long as I align it and just make sure they're the same size, then I'm going to be fine. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the project. Leave me a comment below or send me an email. I shall see you next time. Bye bye for now.